Welcome back! I just went for a walk, so my face is probably all red. I am here to do more lesson planning. Should also say I'm Taylor Hamlin. This is History Forge. Can't forget that. But I'm here to finish up the lesson planning information. It's going to be, I think, part two of part three. Not sure if there's going to be a part four. Maybe. We'll see. But I want to do staging the compelling questions, and I want to talk about like how to do activities and find sources. And then part three is going to be about like actually like getting into the weeds with how do you like stage or how do you scaffold, that's the word, how do you scaffold formative assessments. But for now, we're going to focus on questions and sources. All right, so we're back on the lesson plan now. So it's the same one as the last video, religion and colonial America, same standards. We're just going to scroll down past where we were to where it says staging the compelling question. And basically, before we get into that, though, we need to figure out like what sources are we going to use. So to remind you, I'm using sources that I have on History Forge, and these are sources that I and a few of others have organized throughout the years. And we just find these sources to be very valuable because they come with questions. Like CK12, for example, I'll just open up one real fast to show you. You get here, and not only does it come with like context information, it also says things, or sorry, I always get distracted. Not only does it come with context information, it gives you the actual sources, and it gives you questions if you keep scrolling down. And we find that to be very valuable because you're a teacher, you don't have a lot of time. So we like these, it gives us a good platform to kind of jump off into. I'll head back to the actual site. And we have a lot of these, and we have them organized based off like time period plus themes. So I was looking around like, oh, religion. I'll just pick that on that one because I already have three sources from CK12 and I have History Forge videos. So that's why I picked religion because I have all those sources. And going back now to our lesson plan, we can kind of see where it says staging the compelling question. And the compelling question has to be about the topic, obviously. And so if we scroll down a little bit to this section, we see compelling question 1, 2, and 3. Basically, I make these lesson plans where there's going to be 3 days worth of information. Now, that does not mean it has to be 3 days. I could see this being squeezed into 2 days, or I could even see somebody like taking pieces of this and putting it into 1 day. I can see this being stretched out into 5 days. It really is up to you. It's just basically a way of making sure connections are happening, because the entire point of these kind of lesson plans is to have scaffolded assessments. That's what we're going to jump into. But for now, I'm talking about questions. You can see where the first one says, how can religious ideas affect the beliefs of a community? And question 2 and question 3 also talk about religion. So these are big, compelling questions that we would want students to be able to answer during that class period. So if this is going to be a 3-day lesson, then each day that would be kind of that big main question. And these introduction activities I have listed, the staging the compelling question, they're just activities that will help kind of get the kids, brain juices flowing. We want them to start thinking. So for the first one, I said on Google Classroom, it could be used for something else. But I want students to write down answers to the following prompt. Make a list of all the times you can remember religion affecting news events, and so on and so forth. That's something that they can do in a few minutes at the beginning of a class period just to get them to start thinking about like how does religion affect modern day life, and we'll use those thin connections to show them like how religion also affected the decisions of the past. And each day's got its own one. Again, these could be like looked at in a way where you could do them on the same day, you could do them on different days or whatever, but I design it where it could be done most easily across 3 different days or 3 different lessons. So you have those, and you have the compelling questions, and these things don't really necessarily connect to the specific standards, I don't think. I think it's mostly just about getting kids to start thinking about their religion. This is more about the content part. Like, I want kids to start thinking about, like, why did the Salem witch trials matter? Why did the Great Awakening matter? Why did early colonial religion matter? Like, all these different things, just to get them to start thinking. And I kind of imagine these would be paired with other readings. So, say for example, like this lesson that I've created is done in 1 week. Like you did it for 3 different days. I would then hope that a teacher did other things to kind of fill in the gaps. Like each of these little boxes, I don't think would take the full class period. I think if you did a compelling question, you did one of these activities, you had them do the formative assessment and looked at sources, I think you're talking maybe 30 minutes at most, maybe 50 minutes depending on the day, but for the most part it doesn't need to be the entire lesson. So like what do you do with that other 20 minutes? Give them a short lecture, give them something to read, give them something to talk about that is about religion. Like focus on the content part at that point. But like right now all I'm giving you is the stuff to actually kind of start thinking more about like the critical thinking stuff. So those are the questions. That's how I create them. I just kind of think about like why it matters that religion affects colonial life. Why does it affect our life? Making those connections. As you can see down here, I have where it says inquiry and skill connection. So monitoring and questioning is our skill. I showed it in the last video, but I'll show it again. This is the skill that we're using, and all this stuff is in the video description. So check that out if you have no idea where I'm at. Um, but this monitoring and questioning skill, I basically just look at every single one of these subpoints, and I look at these little questions and prompts. You know, these are just guides to kind of help me figure out, like, all right, well, what do I want to actually ask the kids? And I go back into the lesson plans, and I start actually kind of thinking, like, all right, well, based off these things, how can I take these questions up here and turn them into a formative task that'll actually help the students start, you know, measuring their ideas? And I'll get more into that in the next video. I think the next video is going to be very much like my philosophy on like how to kind of set up steps for formative assessment. But for now, I think, let's see, I don't know, okay, I'm keeping an eye on the clock because I'm trying to keep these things at 10 minutes. I'm going to scroll down a little bit to featured sources, just because I think it's important to kind of figure out like why I picked the sources I did. So you can kind of see for each lesson or each connection here, these boxes. So like this question, this formative task does have to be with these featured sources. Like I was very clear like in shaping those formative tasks and questions based off the sources I picked. I picked the sources in here. So if you're going to make your own lesson plan like this, again, just try to find some things that do connect. So I use, you know, specifically colonial religion, but I could have done, you know, science and technology. I could have done like the similarities and differences in the colonial regions. If I keep scrolling down, like into American Revolution, I could do armed conflict. I could do the founding fathers. Like, there's a lot of different connections I can do. So as you can see, I got here City Upon a Hill, The Divine Right, and the Religion in the Colonies, Appendix B. And these lesson plans have appendices, and so if I scroll down to Appendix B, you'll see this map. And this would be kind of up to the teacher then, like, well, how do you want the kids to look at them? Like, I would suggest using this formative assessment, but I think you should also help kids with this. Like, so you can't just throw them a primary source. Like, you actually have to like kind of do a little bit of modeling with them. So like, if you want source analysis to last like 10 minutes, so maybe you would then analyze the source for 5 minutes, just you with the kids watching, and then they would take up the next 5 minutes and do it themselves. I would also really focus on specific kind of analysis, and since we're doing monitoring and questioning, I would really focus on all this stuff. So if we're going back to wherever it went, there it is. So like right here, I would focus on like what does it mean to create a question? Like what does it mean to like find images and terms that need to be further defined and explained. Like you need to tell kids that stuff, like model it for them. Hey, so that's it for this video. I thought it was going to be way harder for some reason. It could just be because I am the one that makes these lesson plans. They make a lot of sense to me. Like I'm looking at it right now and, you know, compelling questions and the activities that lead up to them. I don't know. I thought that was going to be way harder, but to me, it makes a lot of sense. So if you have questions, though, if you need help, if this seems like I'm talking a different language or I'm going too fast or like I'm not doing a good enough job making those connections, let me know. This is very much in Taylor language sometimes, and so if it's not quite clear, please tell me. If you're one of my students, you're more than welcome to email me, call me, or text me. If you're a teacher, use that comment section on the little YouTube videos. Those are helpful. Please ask questions. I want to be able to help as much as possible, and use the video description to check out the sources I have. Everything I show you is in those video descriptions, so please look at those. But that's all for next time. Let me think. What are we doing next time? Formative assessments next time, and then I think there will be a part 4. We'll see. All right, see you guys next time. Bye.